Welcome back, everybody, once again to another Predictions Post-Mortem as WWE Survivor Series War Games is in the books. And we also determined who was the weakest link and the strongest predictor of the calendar years. This was the conclusion of the WWE PLE Predictions League of 2025 in association with No DQ. Hello, everybody. Hope you all are doing very well. Hope you all had a wonderful Thanksgiving. And, of course, happy early holidays to all of you. You know what this is. I am the Simple Man of the Simple Brand, the voice of SRS for Great for All Things Professional Wrestling. And, of course, your statistician and booker for all predictions for No DQ. Damn it. And my name is Noah Foster. And, of course, I'm never alone. My fellow analyst who's going to bring it mean, but also bring it real, whether he's an outlier or whether he runs the course. Papa Gino is also here to join the fray as well. So thank you all for tuning in. Please like, subscribe, comment, and tell the friend. And if you want to dictate the conversation, super chat, people have passions, let your predictions or outlooks be known. It's as simple as that in the chat. So first and foremost, Gino, how are you? Again, grateful for what we started this year, and I look forward to continuing it again next year with you. How was your Thanksgiving? And overall, how did you feel about Survivor Series and the WWE this calendar year for their PLEs?
Yeah, I had a good American Thanksgiving right this past Thursday. I moved into a new location, so it's, maybe not as relaxing as it usually is, especially with the turkey and the taters rumbling around in there. But we got it done, and as far as WWE, I think that they've had a pretty consistent year with their premium live events. It's everybody just expects that every event's got to blow your socks off, and some things are you're going to have highs and lows, and that's if everything is great, then nothing is. If you understand that reference from The Incredibles, right? Yeah, absolutely. And I see people maybe not happy with the event, see people that are happy with the event, but we're here to break down Survivor Series, the final premium live event, because of the pseudo premium live event. Saturday night's main event is not necessarily included in what we do with predictions. Maybe it will be next year. Stay tuned, everybody. And we will do AEW's recent event as well. And we'll break those down, and we're going to get this thing going with, we'll start off with the AEW stuff.
All right, well, fair enough. So I figure without further ado, Papagino and fellow fans of statistics, we are the only post-pay-per-view PLE show to give you the stats as an outtake versus the story. Let's get right into it. As again, of course, I not only do WWE, I do AEW, TNA, and NXT. And of course, the NXT and TNA leagues will also conclude. You can stay to Predictions Post-Mortem and the league results next week, Wednesday night, at least for NXT. TNA, we'll see. But to your point, as we, of course, remove ourselves from full gear, here's how everyone did at full gear. Again, Gino, you were like 1 point away from me. It was kind of a little bit all over the board. Only one person picked the $1 million match correctly, and that was David. A few people got the Royale correct, and it seemed people were very partisan when it came to the ones that wanted vendetta against the other team in the tag team tournament, or whether it was FTR or Brodito or Kyle O'Reilly. John Moxley was almost 50-50 per se. There was a lot of unique ratios here. And of course, I look at Samoa Joe and I realize where I think they're going with this. And I love this. So which match do you want to look at, or do you just want to give a simple outlook towards this? And don't worry, folks, I'll put a bigger screenshot in here momentarily as Gino gives his initial thoughts.
Yeah. And first of all, guys, we are reaching the end of the year. So if you ever felt, oh, I can't jump into the Predictions League mid-year, I'll never catch up, all that stuff, remember that with the new year comes a whole new way to jump in. So if you want to get into those predictions, I'm sure Noah's going to provide you with all that information in the description, guys. But the more the merrier. We really enjoy doing this, and it's really fun. We have fun with it. We're going to have a winner, but week to week, whether you're in no DQ or whether you're somebody who's not in no DQ, we definitely, I know it's a little bit more work for Noah to have to put all that information there, but we love stats. That's why we do this. So reach out to Noah, get involved. The more people, the merrier, especially this time of year. Now, right. And the first thing that jumps out to me here is, especially for AEW, is the amount of red and orange and brown tones that we see here on the bottom. Usually with AEW, I feel like majority of the outcomes are predicted correctly by the majority of the people predicting. So let's go ahead and we'll start off with the 1 of 14. that David got right, the tag trios $1 million money grudge match, however you want to put it, right? I think that with myself and everybody else, I can't speak for Noah, but we'll see what he has to say here, is that Kenny Omega returned, teaming with the recently reunited Jurassic Express. Young Bucks have been around, and it felt like this was the time to put over the faces and really promote them, welcome back type of things. However, they didn't win. We had the Bucks and Josh Alexander take that one, and I got to say I did not see that coming. Even though I did pick the Bucks on the last event, I figured, okay, well, they're just gonna, like, you've got somebody who's arguably the face of the company returning. You've got a group of tag teams reuniting. Like, that to me screams they're going over, brother. But they didn't, and so yeah, I mean, pretty straightforward for me. Thought that the returning faces were gonna take it, and they didn't. Noah, what did you think?
It's one of those things where I just thought this just felt like such a nice little way to keep the Bucks broke, especially with the Wheel of Fortune thing. And I think about the last time we were at Full Gear, the Young Bucks, they also lost in a tag team match. Of course, now trios match. It just felt like that Jurassic Express had a hot gone 1-0 against the Bucks and 2-0 in big money matches. So I was looking at the more, I think definitive idea of Kenny Omega and Jurassic Express putting the past behind them completely. But it seems that the past was put behind a different way. Because at the end of the day, money didn't win, friendship did, which caught me off guard. And it was a sudden finish too. And also, it wasn't Kenny Omega that was involved in the decision, as it was a tale of two matches. I was just basically thinking Kenny Omega was finally get the better of Josh Alexander, tease that one-on-one for later because they haven't had that one-on-one yet, and Jurassic Express would have the Young Bucks number. But I was wrong.
Yeah, and you're not alone. It's usually me that's wrong by myself. Fortunately, I was joined with our cohorts, and it's never fun to get something wrong.
Damn
But
it.
overall, we'll see how they continue to build on this story. But you could argue that the booking was correct here and that they made the right decision there. So congratulations, David. I'd say we'll just go through because there's a lot of matches. So let's just go through how it's organized here on the sheet. I think that's going to be the easiest to follow. Now we go from the least predictable to the most predictable. 10 out of 14. Looking at myself, I got it correct. Looking at Noah, he got it correct.
A boy.
So earlier in the year, I had picked Fletcher to be losing. I was predicting Briscoe to go over. He beat MJF earlier in the year. It felt like you use that to promote him because that's a pretty, I don't want to say star-making victory, but that's a pretty meaningful victory over an MJF. So I'm glad that I stuck with my guns because Briscoe really jumped off the page to me. And I now consider myself a Briscoe fan. When going into his match against MJF, he was the heel to me at that point. So Kyle Fletcher, obviously big future here with AEW. He reminds me a lot of a young Randy Orton, and I hope the best for his career moving forward, and I hope it has that Randy Orton trajectory. But if he's going to do that, it's time for him to move on from a mid-card championship. And he hit that like tied for most title defenses, or this one, if he had defended it properly, was going to be the most title defenses for the TNT title. So that they kind of wanted to get to that story. You alluded to that in predictions past. But yeah, I thought now's the time to give it to Briscoe heading into the new year. Pull the trigger on him, build up these guys, and I thought it was a pretty entertaining match, all things considered. So you obviously picked Briscoe as well. What was your thought process?
The fact of the matter that these two for like the fight forever immortal rivalry that bring out the best and worst out of each other now going into their sixth singles encounter, and it was in favor of the champion right now, 3-2, with those 3 wins literally being just this year alone. I figured that we'd have to tie the record. I think they could go the best of 7 down the line, but I also think Kyle Fletcher, who held the TNT title for 8 defenses across less than 200 days, had a great run. To me, Kyle Fletcher is the future of AEW. In AEW, I see more stars being developed that are not even 40 years old or 30 years old for that matter, and being pushed into the mainstream. Mark Briscoe, though, at one point, despite the disagreement with his brother saying something that got the previous regime of Warrior Brothers Discovery all pissy, it was great to see Mark Briscoe finally get this moment, his first chance to be a champion, hold gold in AEW. To me, it was down to the fact that I think the stats should have been even, and the story these two have been telling the entire calendar year, plus the other underlying tale of the Don Callis family fallout, where Kyle Fletcher already has a win over the reigning defending Continental Champion. For me, Kyle Fletcher, it's time for him to move on to bigger and better things. He's broken out into himself the last calendar year. He was a great television champion, so he had that great television exposure. He already had a chance to be in the main event against the world champion. I think literally within the next couple of years, Kyle Fletcher could hold the world title in AEW. For that to happen, he can't hold two titles at once, and I think Mark Briscoe, he deserves this moment because Mark Briscoe, at the end of the day, he said this was his destiny. And also, this is a chance to see Mark Briscoe break out on his own as he has, but truly see if he could sink or swim as a champion, let alone a figure of television. To me, this made all the sense in the world. And it also leaves room for a rubber.
Absolutely. And, like you mentioned, that 50-50 booking, and we both said it's time for him to start moving on to bigger and better things. I worry that if they do have a grudge match, Briscoe's going to win again, and that might hurt Fletcher a little bit as he's going on, like we saw in WWE when Breakker lost the Intercontinental title and started moving into the main event. He didn't keep going back to have that mid-card title feud. But we'll see what happens. Obviously, AEW and WWE, they do things differently, and that's the beauty of having the wrestling landscape that we have right now, is we have different bookers, different people pulling the strings, different ideas, different thought processes, and I love that. Shout out to Charles. He always seems to find his way into these prediction postmortems. I love it. Thank you so much, Charles. We appreciate you very much.
Great friend.
Now,
I'm sure he'll be on Sleep Predicting tomorrow, and that would be for TNA and NXT.
Well, that I look forward to watching that, guys. Stay tuned to Noah's channel for all of that. They do a lot of good content. I feel like it's every day of the week you guys have something great going on, and it's always worth the watch. Even though we've got so much wrestling content, I still love consuming the content that talks about the wrestling as well. So great job with that. Now we're going to move on here to the grudge match. Really, It was just Darby Allin versus Pac. For me and for Noah, we both got this one wrong. We picked Darby. We probably should have seen this coming, but all signs this year have been pointing to Darby's getting a push. Darby's getting a push. Darby's getting a push. And then Pac, who is a great wrestler in his own right, you could argue on a Mount Rushmore of the real NXT's glory days. So he's a great wrestler. We love watching him. Darby Allin could take this loss and still go to where I think he, at this point, needs to be in that world title conversation, even though he's a smaller guy, whatever. He's just been doing so much good for AEW, getting out there, literally climbing to the summits of actual mountains. So I picked him because I think that you should just continue to build him up. But Pac won, and with that, Darby, Gino, and Noah lost. Noah, what were your thoughts going into this match?
He was 5-0 against the Death Riders freaking recently, okay? Including being sacrificed in blood and guts for what it was worth by Cavekin and Pac himself that led to this. And now I see both men are in the Continental Classic in the same block. And yes, this was the first time these two went one-on-one, but it's been more so Darby Allin 5, Death Riders goose egg. At the end of the day, though, I should look at his full gear record, though, versus recent record. The last time Darby Allin was involved in a singles match here at Full Gear, I can remember, was against Maxwell Jacob Friedman, and MJF beat him. So at the end of the day, I basically looked at recent stats versus pay-per-view stats, and that bit me in the ass. Personally, I didn't think this match needed to be on pay-per-view, especially knowing now they're going to run it back in the Continental Classic, Gino. They're in the same block. Also, stay tuned, folks. We're later going to continue covering the Continental Classic in its entirety, including tonight's episode of Wednesday Night AEW Dynamite. Darby and Pac is not on tonight's card, though, but that is to come. But yeah, I went with recency versus annually, and it bit me. Full Gear has not been a good stage for Darby Allin. As far as Darby's push goes, at one point he held the late great WWE League, God rest his soul, the TNT Championship as the most important. I still feel like he cares about that to this day. But again, with the loss right now and being the Death Riders, ultimate vendetta, basically AEW's icon, Sting versus NWO. Here's Darby Allin versus the Death Riders. As Sting gave Darby that bat being Darby Allin's undoing. I should have saw it coming that eventually Darby was going to go up against a different Death Rider, because at the end of the day, it got better John Moxley. He has not gotten the better of the bastard yet. Maybe the Continental Class will be a different story, 53 booking, but that's basically what bit me. Recency versus annually. Damn it.
And that is one of the crosses to bear of being somebody who likes stats and is using that to help be a predictor, because that is usually the smart way to go, right? You look at the past to help predict the future. You look at what's going on, especially in wrestling when, again, things are predetermined and it seems like there's sometimes a pattern being followed. Not always, but enough to where it would get us to think that. Now,
yeah.
Speaking of a pattern, at least for me, of going against the grain and then being like, okay, well, it's time to just go with what's been happening. We had the AEW World Tag Team Championship. I had picked against Brodito time and time again. So I'm like, it's bitten me in the butt so much. I've got to pick them here. And FTR took the W. I think with FTR being one of the premier tag teams in all of wrestling the last, decade plus, like they are really up there. They're not as flashy. And I don't just mean their in-ring style, just like they just don't feel super mainstream. And then Brodito, they combined their forces and they started to get really over, and it was making sense after it didn't make sense. It was making sense to have them win. And then what feels like is being ground to a halt. Noah, you saw this one coming, so I'm going to turn it over to you. What helped you get this one correct?
It was one of those fans looking at how long this has been going on for FTR in the pursuit, not only of the titles, but the pursuit related to Brodito, how Brodito was able to pin them at Forbidden Door, and you had to figure they were going to turn it around. Well, FTR hasn't been able to turn around against anybody in this tag team division since their action against Adam Copeland and Christian Cage. The only match they won was due to freaking Stoke Bennett getting involved in a number one contendership. Besides that, they've lost traditional tags against the Bang Bang Gang. They lost 8-man tags where they, of course, were opposite of at least one half of the champions. And basically all they've been doing is all talk, no action. When it comes to a traditional sense of tag team wrestling, you talk about yourself, the throwback, the identity of FTR. When you put them in what they were born and built to be in tag team wrestling, the revival of this art, from DIY to American Alpha to Young Bucks, for what it's worth, to Brodito. This was arguably one of the most competitive tag team matches I've seen all year, and FTR did everything possible to make sure this went their way. You also look at the fact that people are looking at the aspect of, are we going to see the fallout from All Out bit them in the butt with what happened to Beth? Thinking about, again, looking at their recent record and what could come in a new beginning, it felt to me that FTR was the appropriate choice for the night. Plus, Brodito still the Ring World Champion, defending that this Friday in Survival of the Fittest in a 6-way battle. Brody King, though, big man, trios champion now, tag team champion, Continental Classic standout, and the Brotherhood's going to stand together, by the way. It just feels like to me that Brody King should be a singles champion, should go on singles pursuits here in AEW. So I expect bigger things for Brody King. Ben Deal's already Ring of our World Champion, and FTR makes sense being heels now to reset this tag team division, especially after the Hurt Syndicate were unpinned and submitted for those titles. So there's that as well. For me, it was top guys win or top guys out.
Well put. Thank you, Noah, very much. I do agree that I do think Brody King is on his way up the ladder, which means we have to then relinquish some of the gold to, unless you're Mercedes Moné, but we'll get to that later. And, I think you do have to leave some of the titles behind so that you can move your way up the ladder. Now, we have the grudge match, no holds barred match between Kyle O'Reilly and Jon Moxley. I got this one incorrect. You got this one correct. I should have picked Kyle O'Reilly. I just feel like Tony Khan and the company and the organization itself, they love Jon Moxley. And to me, it just feels like he's one of those guys in AEW that's just hard to bet against. But it feels like the Death Riders and Moxley's time, maybe in that storyline, is coming to an end. And I should have seen it coming, but I didn't. Pick Moxley purely because of not what I saw on the Go Home show, just because I thought that he just wins matches. And yeah, I got it wrong, but you got it right. Noah, what were you reading on the tea leaves that directed you here?
Besides the location, the fact that last time he faced Jon Moxley in this building was prior to his neck almost being decapitated, and he went, of course, on surgery for 2 years, and also seeing this new fire that still burns in Kyle O'Reilly, the violent artist, not fun-loving conglomeration member. It felt like to me that Kyle O'Reilly deserved this win. It felt to me that Kyle O'Reilly had Jon Moxley's number in a sense, but he hasn't beaten him technically in a one-on-one match. He tapped him out in blood and guts. He tapped him out in an angle. He made him go to sleep in a guillotine double count out. And it looked like he's going to tap out because that's been the story. Jon Moxley's confidence in tapping out. He punched Paul Turner in the face. To me, this just felt like you had to go full circle with this because I think Kyle O'Reilly is one of those that wants to be pushed, like you said, to that next echelon and deserves to be. I haven't seen this fire, this aggressive nature out of Kyle O'Reilly since his feud with Adam Cole, baby, in my NXT. And Jon Moxley brought that out of him. Now, truth be told, here it was a mix of technical and bloody, barbaric, brutal, but it made sense because it was a clash of styles. It almost felt like a freaking blood fight, per se. So for me, Kyle O'Reilly needed to win this to put Jon Moxley behind him and really move forward away from his past. Now, truth be told, based on what happened, who knows at this point, especially with a man that's already had multiple seizure, natures, diabetes, injuries, etc. Now he's out injured again. For all we know, he might have injuries lingering that he exaggerated here against Jon Moxley, and he might be one of those famed wrestlers saved from himself. Either way, though, I just think Kyle O'Reilly needed to win this. With Jon Moxley right now on the downturn, looking at his recent record, lost blood and guts, lost to Darby Allin, losing to Kyle O'Reilly, how much longer before the Death Riders question his confidence in the leadership of his mission statement? Tonight, Claudio Castagnoli and Jon Moxley in the Continental Classic might further add to that because I do think there's a stoic demeanor on Claudio Castagnoli for more than one reason as of late, more than usual. So yeah, Kyle O'Reilly needed to win this for me for multiple facets.
Yeah, and like I said, you got it right, and those are great sound reasonings. I just even in NXT, I was just not a Kyle O'Reilly fan, and I probably shouldn't be betting with one appendage. I should be using my brain to be making these predictions, but you win some, you lose some. And now that brings me and us to my favorite part of these shows, and that's where Gino was right and Noah was wrong. So Noah, it doesn't look like you even got the second your secondary pick was still off. So for me, it strictly came down to Ricochet and what he said on the Go Home show, and that was basically it. They were having him in Boston talking that smack about the Patriots and my city and all of those types of things, wearing the Eagles jacket. I was like, this is a man that's going to win this match, period, point blank. If I honestly almost didn't even put a second one because I was so confident in this one here for sure. Now, this match was full of people that or people that you could have picked to win, and even some of my favorites in AEW. But it was Rick O'Shea. It was Ricochet for me. Now, what went into your thought process? You picked basically his chief rival in this match, Bobby Lashley. What was going into your thought process on that?
You mean besides the fact Bobby Lashley and Shelton Benjamin should be succeeding as single stars, and the jury is out whether that's the direction for the Hurt Business in AEW, and Claudio Castagnoli could run roughshod here on a title that literally is about defending it in CMLL, Ring of Honor, and New Japan. By the way, congratulations, Castagnoli, new CMLL World Champion. But anyway, it just felt like to me that Ricochet's been AEW's whipping boy. But I guess eventually everyone's favorite bald person to bully sometimes makes you eat humble pie. With a freaking spirit gun out of nowhere and a flash pin as the Casino Gauntlet works, Ricochet, like a thief in the night, was able to literally demand a victory. Now, will he command respect? Who knows? Plus, being formerly known as the King of the Indies, I should have recognized this title being about more so wrestling in and out of AEW with it would make more sense for this man. So that's kind of what happened here. And again, bit me in the ass. But the jury is out. Bobby Lashley, Claudio Castagnoli, I want to see either one of them possibly challenge for this championship, if not something bigger down the line. But again, based on what's happening in Continental Classic, Claudio might be something bigger already. Bobby Lashley, the jury is out when it comes to the Almighty. But if Ricochet is going to literally win a match, he might as well win the match also. He debuted in the freaking Casino Gauntlet from last year at All In. So it made sense in hindsight to bet on Ricochet here, and a number of reasons. I just didn't go with it. Damn it.
Now, you said a couple of things there, Noah, that are 100% correct. Ricochet made a name for himself when he was younger on the indies, in Japan, and Bobby Lashley should be pushed to the top. I feel like they are withholding that because of what they had planned for the championship and what they might have planned moving forward. But you're right. Bobby Lashley he's essentially Brock Lesnar, right? He's done real cage fighting. He's a physical freak of nature. He's one of those guys that you would never, ever, ever want to upset to their face. You would never want to be stuck in an alley with by yourself. Him and Brock Lesnar to me are basically the same person, and a lot of that comes into they should be being pushed. He should be, even though he's part of a faction. I've always been a fan of you can be in a faction but also a singles champion. Those things aren't mutually exclusive, and I completely agree with that. Now, just to address who got there were a few people that got it right as their secondary pick, and so good on you guys. You get Walter. 1 point for that. Yeah, absolutely. And but other than that was still 2 of 14. Now we'll move on to a 4-way tag match. It's always difficult when you have multiple different options to choose from. It's usually a little bit easier to predict when it's a one-on-one or one team versus another team. But this one was it was all over the board here. You got the Sisters of Sin, Babes of Wrath. You've got Shafir and Bane, and you've got the winners, Toni Storm, Mina Shirakawa. We both picked them, and we were 2 of the 3 who picked them to win. At this point, you had to try to rebuild Toni Storm up as a credible threat to whatever she wants to do. She had lost her championship, and now it was time to whatever she's going to be doing next. I saw her winning. Could have been anything. You could have put her in the Casino Gauntlet match with the guys, and I would have picked her to win. So, I picked her and them to win. We'll see how long this, unlikely allies type of situation can last. Noah, why did you pick Timeless?
Timeless, Toni Storm, Mina Shirakawa were part of the losing end of Blood and Guts. In fact, Toni surrendered as Mina was being whipped like a garbage unconscious in Mars Milk in Shafir and Bane's onslaught of submissive sleeping and TBS championship whipping. As far as the Babes of Wrath and the Sisters of Sin go, they necessarily don't need a gimmick for what's ahead for them, considering they were the next match in the AEW Women's Tag Championship Tournament. Spoiler alert for those that are not keen to AEW. The Babes of Wrath beat the Sisters of Sin last week on Dynamite. They are in the finals. Julia Hart and Sky Blue are eliminated, which means now it's either going to be Timeless Love Bombs, Toni and Mina, or Marina Shafir and Megan Bayne. For me, the story of this tournament has really come down to where Tony and Mina have lost everything. And of course, the women's professional wrestler, character and worker of the year, in my opinion, Thomas Tony Storm, as you're saying, now with a reset here. I feel that reset needs to keep going, and we need to see where this vendetta goes, whether or not it's answered in sweet victory or bittersweet defeat once again, and see if Tony and Mina have a fallout. I look at this unique alliance of Megan Bay and Rhea Shafir. I look at power and proficiency. That should be the name of their team. They might be the most lethal duo right now in the AEW women's division. So how do you try and neutralize that? You put them into something that you think you could beat them in. So what do those crazy son of women think? Death match. So thinking about what Mina said, I was like, no, Mina. I just felt like Tony and Mina made sense to pick the stipulation, considering who they're facing and who they personally want to get the better of. Because even in not winning, Tony and Mina can still bring the hurt to Marina and freaking Megan Bayne. And I believe they're going to do that tonight on Dynamite, as that hardcore holiday death match is tonight. For me, it just made sense for Tony and Mina to win, considering the winner of this match got to pick a stipulation against their opponents. The other ones didn't need to pick a stipulation. Lord knows, Bayne and Shafir are already a freaking weapon of a duo as it is.
Yeah, you're right. It seems like with some of the teams having their own storyline going on, you probably weren't going to pick them. It just felt like, yeah, you said Women's Wrestler of the Year. What's up, Big G? We always appreciate Big G when he's around, man. He shows up to all of our stuff. He's one of the good ones out there on the internet, guys. Go follow him.
Follow him, and also stay tuned. He will be on commentary for John Cena's last match in the last 10 minutes now, Saturday night's main event special. I'm gonna try and make him lead it.
Yeah, I trying to block that from my mind. What's up, Joey? Just because
we're gonna talk more about that here in a moment when we get to Survivor Series. You got 2 matches left here, bro.
Yeah. But yeah, so I just John Cena not being officially retiring is going to make me feel things that I don't like to feel. So with that said, speaking of things that people don't like to feel, we have a steel cage match to talk about. AEW Men's World Championship. This is another thing of patterns for statisticians like ourselves. I was going against Hangman. I thought that it shouldn't have been him continuing to win, but he had just won the title, blah, 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 blah. I think that I picked Joe last time, so I was like, okay, well, they're just not going to give it to Joe. And this is one of those things where I like the authenticity of that. In WWE, sometimes when somebody loses the championship match, they don't get another one, and they certainly aren't going to win that if they do. This one, we had Samoa Joe coming in, and he won the championship. But I picked Hangman Page because it felt like that was the pattern that was going on, when I probably should have been using more of my brain in that aspect. Noah got this one correct. Noah, why Samoa Joe?
It was actually one of those things I was going back and forth with, because I consider him and Adam Page's run with the championship right now and what's been brought out of it versus what could come next from it versus the day one story of him and Adam Page and MJF, who might I add to as a world championship opportunity that he could catch at any time, 1 week notice, to the champion. But I also look at him and Adam Page's full gear record. He lost last year to Switchblade Jay White when he was the freaking ridiculous cowboy with vendetta against everybody, including himself. And the previous year, he lost to Swerve Strickland when Swerve Strickland finally claimed his own spot. And ironically enough, that was a freaking death match. To me, though, it just felt like Samoa Joe, who may not have much time left, and considering he was the world's end to everyone's favorite scumbag, I almost look at who do you want to see MJF take the towel off of more? Samoa Joe, him and Adam Page, or somebody we haven't seen yet? I think about these other nuances of MJF, the subtle backstage segments he's had versus the matches he hasn't had yet, like Swerve Strickland. It's one of those things where I look at what the future of AEW holds. I don't think him and Adam Page needed to be a long-term champion. He was a means to an end, but I also think he was transitional. In my opinion, though, with Samoa Joe running it back so quick with him and Adam Page, like you said, Wrestle Dream in full gear, I did not think this was going to be 50-50 booking. It just didn't feel like that to me. The Hook thing totally caught me off guard. But for me, Samoa Joe, killer inside cage, bloody face, winning a world championship, poetic. But I just didn't think Heyman needed the title anymore. I look at Samoa Joe being a reset to the entire World Championship picture. Now, whether or not it's Swerve, Ospreay, MJF, or somebody else I didn't even mention, the jury is out. But now you got Hangman Page and Jon Moxley out of the World Championship picture. And I think that's a fresh reset.
Yeah, I agree with you there, to the point where I almost didn't feel like Hangman should have been the guy to dethrone Mox. But now you've got it on a heel again, and you've got a number of very strong babyface. I honestly thought Swerve was going to be the one to take it off of Hangman because of their history. They're literally like Joker and Batman, that, as they mentioned on the CVV podcast that he did recently. Shout out to Swerve, dude. The way Swerve thinks about professional wrestling and storytelling is, honestly, it makes me want to keep more up with AEW as a whole. He's just fantastic. But we'll see what happens with a heel champion. That gives an opportunity for the good guys to come up and take that from him. And again, Samoa Joe had just done that Twisted Metal season 2. So that's why I picked him in the past, but he didn't win. So I was like, well, why would they book him again and have him win if they should have just had him win it back then? But again, sometimes these patterns, the things that we're used to in professional wrestling, that's why it's so good to have different minds and different promotions and different booking styles. Keeps it fresh. So with that said, we have, speaking of fresh, right? We have the AEW Women's World Championship and Mercedes Moné, you're fine. Mercedes Moné, who holds basically every independent championship under the sun. 14, 15, it's tough to keep track. I was wondering when she was going to kind of put her eyes on the main prize in AEW Women's Wrestling, but stat is where it's at. She just won it from Toni Storm. She's not a traditional transitional champion here. I do think in 2026, Moné is going to hold this strap, but for now, you keep it on stat. And yeah, it was pretty much what I was thinking. And I was, 8 out of 14. So there was a little bit more people that got it right than got it wrong. Noah, you got it right as well. You're a big Statlander fan if anybody's watched you for any amount of time. So what, besides your picking with your heart, what made you think Stat?
Last year at Full Gear, Chris Statlander gave Mercedes Moné the match of her AEW career where Moné compared her to Charlotte Flair. A follow-up match at World's End, Chris Statlander lost again, while Mercedes Moné ascended to 13 other small endeavors alongside the TBS Championship. 250 different small things do not equate to the one big thing, as Stat's the first woman who's been on this year of reformation and character development. Don't know if she's good, bad, needs friends, can have friends, etc., but is focused on one thing, the AEW Women's World Championship. Ever since Stat beat Toni Storm, it led me to believe that Statlander is the reset of this women's division, and rightfully so, as a young AEW original. With a win now over Toni Storm in singles, Mercedes Moné was icing on the cake 1 year later, third time's the charm, where Mercedes Moné still has the TBS Championship. You don't need to hold every title. You damn sure don't need to hold the mid-card and the world title. Hell, she didn't need to hold the tag team title. That's why I'm glad she got eliminated in the first round. Statlander deserved this chance with how much hell she's been through and personal turmoil herself. 600 days on injury, double knee surgery. Statlander, much like Samoa Joe in a way, is a point to a reset. Now, whether it's Fekla, Jamie Hayter, Sky Blue, Julia Hart, somebody I didn't mention, welcoming all comers, including Pro Wrestling Eve, as she's the Pro Wrestling Eve International Champion. It made sense for me to Chris Statlander to be put over in this match by Mercedes Moné. It sure as hell wasn't easy. It left me on the edge of my seat. Walter almost had a heart attack, but Stat's where it's at, damn it, for a reason. I said that ad nauseum verbatim. While Mercedes Moné, great wrestler, great worker, but until you drop all your small championships, you don't need to be the face of your company. Stat deserved it.
Absolutely. And now I can't help but notice that a lot of what went into some of your decision making was what had happened in the namesake pay-per-view in years past.
Yep.
It's in AEW, you basically have everybody for the most part in the company on every pay-per-view. WWE don't get that. So you're able to build on years past in these specific events.
For the bigger stars, yes, as a
Yeah.
trend, but not everybody. And WWE is the same way for the bigger stars, but it also depends on the type of match. Was it a gimmick? No. Was it multi-person? No. Was it World Championship with the roles were reversed? Yes. Exhibit A, Cody Rhodes, Roman Reigns. Took Cody 2 times, literally a story 1 year later. Depending on the people involved and the circumstance, you gotta look at it from the opposite perspective when it comes to the result versus history repeating. And this made the most sense to me for the AEW Women's World Championship.
Absolutely, absolutely. So you, Noah, and Dwayne Atkinson, you guys got the most correct out of that, and me and Oof were right behind you with one there. So with that, we lay to rest AEW Full Gear 2025.
Good riddance to that. And only with one show yet. Again, I am not showing leaderboards. I'm calculating them as the integrity of these leagues that I do for the final 2 shows for AEW until World's End concludes. So to the team in the Galaxy and the All Elite Fleet, stay tuned. But that being said, we are now going to shift gears into the finale of why we are here, and that is the WWE. As War Games has brought peace to the league, but to the company and the fan base, who's to say? But Gino, let's go ahead and get right into it.
The aspect ratio of these two tables is not lost upon me. Obviously, we had only 4 matches, but 2 of those matches had bonus point type things to them, whereas
That's
only
just
one.
Desperate.
And these bonus point things really make or break somebody's entire predictions year, honestly, because of how though you can get something wrong, but if you get this one right, you get 2 extra points for something that somebody might only be getting 1. So they really do matter, and it is a fun little wrinkle because you try to pull these strings in your head of how would you book it, who makes sense, and we'll get into that right away. So we're just going to start.
Aaron Riff, by the way, who scored multi-app for the first time in WWE PLE Predictions League history. 0 for a show.
0.
Hell, boss man.
0-0 for, and I was going to say, Dave, welcome in. Yes, Dave was right behind him with 1, but it does happen, Dave. Now you got the 1 right, one of them that I got wrong. So even when you get 1 right, you're still, are doing things correctly. So we're going to break this all down. We're going to start with Intercontinental Championship. My guy, John Cena.
Go ahead.
And I obviously Noah's bursting at the literal seams with Fury. For me, Mean Gino, my alter ego, a little happier after that one. See, this is one of those situations where I got it right, Noah got it wrong, but this is one of those situations where it's like I'm playing somebody in fantasy football. I will bet on the players on that team to score touchdowns, so that way if they score and he beats me, I get money. If not, then I win the week. This one was Cena's my guy, and him winning would have been great even if I got this wrong. But when you have the last time is now tournament and his retirement match is the following match, the following appearance is his retirement match, does that need the Intercontinental Championship? I would say no. Because it's not the Intercontinental Championship #1 contenders tournament. It's Cena's final opponent. So to me, he was not walking into that match with the title, all things considered, is kind of where I was at with that. Especially since Cena won in Boston. How you doing? And Dominic wanted to have home field advantage. The one thing that kind of caught me off guard with that is no Rey Mysterio, even though he was on the pre-show. I know Aaron mentioned that on his recap, but what's not being talked about is how Liv, when she was in WWE developmental stuff, she said John Cena was her celebrity crush. So that kind of played into this thing. We got Liv Morgan coming in, and she recreated the Cena heel turn, deadpan face, and then smile, kick to the Kanekis, and then we got it. What's confusing me is Liv seems to be just hitting everybody and not just John. So I'm not really quite sure what that's about, but she hits you and then jumps onto your lap. Probably not complaining. I don't see Dominic complaining anywhere. So John Cena was going to lose this match strictly for no other reason than he's not bringing that title into, especially if it's Gunther or LA Knight. Neither of them need to be challenging for the Intercontinental Championship. Noah, why John Cena?
I just feel like you just give him that 101st PLE win. And even with Morgan, I thought she was going to betray Dom because it's like, you went for another woman. Well, I guess, I was wrong in that. Then again, that's the reason why I choose to be single. Freaking women. Anyway, it just felt like to me, even if the last time is now tournament involved John Cena going in with a championship, you're right. He doesn't need to defend it. Who's to say he can't vacate it? Wasn't even no title, nothing more but a moment. And I think that was proven here. I just wish it wasn't here. But anyway, I just felt like he was going to take it in a serious main event, vacate it, because like you said, the tournament, the final match, LA Knight, or the Lean General Gunther, either one of them absolutely needs it. But I just felt like Liv Morgan, if she was going to show, was going to screw Dom. And I thought John Cena was just going to give Don his comeuppance because Dom's in John Cena's final PLE match. Whoop-de-doo. It's in San Diego. Whoop-de-doo. And how many times has a person in their home turf, in WWE particularly, lost? So that's why I went with that. It bit me in the ass.
I will say that pattern, again, here throughout this video, we're talking about patterns and predicating our predictions. But it feels like the hometown heroes, the favorite sons, lost a lot more under the old regime of WWE more than the current regime. It almost feels like, except for Drew McIntyre, that man cannot catch a break.
No,
not even like he should be in the main events doing the not just being fed to Cody Rhodes to get screwed over and lose and whatever. He's not even on the poster, and I think he could have been at that poker table with those guys. I think Drew McIntyre is just as big. I mean, physically bigger than most of those guys. But shout out to Drew, guy who met his wife in Tampa. I live just outside of Tampa now, so I'm always going to be partial to those guys who came up from FCW, NXT, have their home base in my neck of the woods. But yeah, so real quick though, before we move on, you thought that Cena was going to vacate the title, which means you're probably thinking that he's going to win his retirement match, no?
I feel like it's one of those things he wants to put over the business, but I also look at both men and their drive. And again, both men right now that are left looking for a reset. You think about what Brock Lesnar's win over The Undertaker did, despite the circumstances of why the F did we do that and what it led to. I think the same could be led to somebody that's going to be around versus somebody that's not. At the end of the day, just John Cena, and I'm sure we'll talk about this in hindsight. You and I might just have to do a one-on-one, simply predict on this match alone once we know who the finalist is, because I think we're going to have a lot to talk about. Does John Cena need to win his final match? That truly is the question. Or does John Cena want to give back? And in giving back, does that mean putting somebody over? In this case, the Dom Mysterio really needed to go over John Cena here with the Intercontinental Championship for the second time, with the circumstances that led to it. I don't know. But yeah, I'm kind of torn right now and figure John Cena, he wanted somebody to earn this opportunity. Well, obviously, if they earned it, I don't think they're going to waste it in the effort against the GOAT himself. That's kind of where my mind's going at right
now. I do agree with you there. It felt to me like that impromptu 3-on-3 tag match was a way to get Cena a win in his final 3-4 matches, right? Because he beat Dominic, and then it was pretty much foregone conclusion he was going to lose it. And then if he put somebody over at the end, so Cena's last win happened in his hometown, but it was like, no, let's throw him one more win, get him in there with some guys.
Madison Square Garden, the mecca, of course, of sports entertainment. And where he won his first title, by the way, WrestleMania 20, Big Show, United States Championship.
And the rest, as they say, is history. Also, he came back after 4 months from a pec injury, torn pec for the Royal Rumble in 2008. And that was when I was 18 years old, I was 17 years old. Still really not processing things correctly. And I was not expecting to see him for a long time, and he came back, and I about leapt off my couch through the second floor and all that stuff. So anyway, again, we could talk about this all day long. Anytime you want to talk John Cena, you know where to find me. So let's move on to this next match. Speaking of John Cena, I'm sorry, they're always going to be tied to each other, whether they're together or not. It's Nikki Bella versus Stephanie Vacquer for the Women's World Championship.
What were you thinking?
He proposed on WWE television. Like remember, WWE didn't let Daniel Bryan and Brie Bella be known as a couple because they didn't like that doing that. But they did let Nikki and John be known as a couple. Then they had their TV show together. I mean, they're always going to be linked. Period. End of discussion. You don't propose to somebody and have an engagement with somebody and then not be linked. Whether they're at good terms with each other, who knows? I will tell you this, though. I'm not on good terms with WWE's booking because I got this one incorrect, as did our fearless leader, Aaron Rift.
Oh, my gosh.
He made some good points, though. They just turned Nikki heel. They're coming out with the new merch, all this stuff for her. And the Nikki haters out there at me.
Here we go.
And y'all are saying, oh, she needs the alimony to pay alimony and blah, 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 blah. So it's okay to talk about one ex, but not the other ex. Forgive me. But it just seemed like Stephanie, they gave her this huge hot run to start within a calendar year. She's won all of these things. She won, 4 different championships since her debut. However you want to look at it, it's 3 or 4.
Much. You might as well say that and continue.
Yeah. And it just felt like, why turn Nikki just to have her come into this match and lose? I've said it when she came back, and she's been taking L after L after L. Nobody thinks she's a good wrestler, whatever. I'm not here to debate that. She is a big star, period, end of discussion, especially when you've got little girls crying at ringside just for being able to see her. Okay, that matters. And because of Nikki Bella, and I mentioned this in videos past, but because of Nikki Bella, people in my life, my girl, she now knows who Becky Lynch is. And because she knows who Becky Lynch is now she knows who AJ Lee is. And because of that, all this thing, she didn't sit down and watch this one with me, but she would have then figured out who Stephanie Vacquer is. Oh, no, I know. Oh, listen, not everybody's a wrestling fan, but people are aware of certain particular wrestlers. And Nikki Bella is one of those people that people are aware of. She's on reality TV shows that people like, an Emmy-winning reality television show, The Traitors, mind you. But I digress. I picked her because of what Aaron said. She just turned heel. Why turn her heel just to have her lose? I get it. You're kind of putting over Stephanie Vacquer, but she just feels like she's floundering like most of the champions in WWE. Don't get me started. I have a podcast episode about that from a few weeks ago where the WWE champions are not in storylines. There's only like 3 champions out of the 20 that are in an actual storyline. I mentioned that last night on the review as well. But I picked Nikki. You picked Stephanie correctly. Noah, why Stephanie?
Let's just keep it brief and simple, Gino. I understand the heel turn Jet 7, but there's a reason why WWE tries to book conventional heel versus face all the time, even if they have no story going into it. With all due respect to Nikki Bella, leader of the Divas era, why WWE is trying to encourage this women's evolution, I did not think they were going to let Stephanie Vacquer right now lose this title on her second defense since when it was vacated due to another woman getting pregnant. For me, it feels like right now they might just continue to push the Stephanie and Nikki narrative. And if you're going to do that, you kind of got to give the champion a little bit more lag. I look at Lyra and Becky, for example. Lyra got the better of Becky the first go around. The next time around, Becky got the better of Lyra. Am I saying Nikki's going to do that on the first Raw Netflix new calendar year? I wouldn't rule it out, but at the end of the day, I just didn't think they were going to make Stephanie this quick transitional and Nikki Bella this quick as the champion because her heel turn was literally 2 weeks ago. I actually want to see a story put into essence with these two because I do think you could actually build something out of this because Lord knows, to your point, again, that's a whole different rant for a different day. Again, that might be a different talk show. Me and Gina might have to do a podcast together at some point, folks. Stay tuned. But it just feels like to me right now, you need to give some sort of depth of importance to the championships held by the champions versus the champions' importance and the lack of importance to the championships they held. That's WWE's problem right now. And Nikki winning it, to me, would not have solved that yet because, again, why would you do this so quickly? It also felt like this was cautiously, because Nikki Bella's, first match for the world championship since being freaking world champion freaking a few years ago against Ronda Rousey after going against Ronda Rousey for the title. I didn't think they were going to pull the trigger on Nikki Bella. I think they're trying to build something out of this. I hope I'm right in the long haul. To me, Stephanie was not transitional.
And I do agree with you there for sure. And you mentioned transitional. It feels like WWE's, and here's this word, maybe word of the day, pattern. Here's this pattern WWE has where once the title switch hands, they move in a different direction. To me, growing up, everybody online right now seems to be, that was quick, very well done, seems to be that everybody's saying, oh, wrestling, or specifically maybe WWE. And I know there's a lot of AEW haters out there too, and a lot of AEW lovers, WWE lovers, whatever. But it seems like the consensus is that wrestling isn't as good as it used to be. And when wrestling was good, there wasn't a term transitional champion. It was top contenders fighting for a title. Sometimes one person gets the better of them and then they lose a few weeks later. Like if you think about the UFC, and I'm not the biggest UFC fan right now, but at any given moment, somebody could beat you and then the next night you could lose the title. And I think that adds to the importance of championships. If Nikki Bella had won, then you have Stephanie Vaquer face some sort of adversity, which she hasn't faced. You've seen one Stephanie Vaquer match. You've seen them all. Sorry, I'm just going to call it like I see it.
BDT. Continue.
Yeah. Don't get me wrong. Like, it's enjoyable to see what she's doing, but she's just going through. It's like she hits her spot.
It's emotion. It's literally emotion.
Right.
It's almost as repetitive as you expect the moves you know you're going to see, but you don't expect the outcomes from them. But Stephanie, though, it's literally dragon screw leg whip, spiral tap, win.
Well, you forgot about the best move in WWE history, the Devil's Kiss.
Oh, bloody hell. I was not trying to talk about
How could you forget about the Devil's Kiss?
Because that's just only Ivy Nile ever sold that as a move that actually just orientates your opponent versus just a reason for the cameraman to flex.
Well, let me just say, the people's elbow, The Rock doesn't even face the hard cam when he does it. You want to know why? It's not about how bad it hurts. It's like the weakest finisher ever, but it gets the crowd into it. And I think that adds to it, whether it's the aura or the energy being fed off the crowd. But at the end of the day, she's got like 3 moves of doom. Cena had 5 moves of doom. I had no problem with it then, but everybody was crapping on John Cena for that stuff. Now they love it, which is why I think his heel turn worked. But I digress. I think that if Nikki won it, she gets adversity, and then she could win it back in a few weeks, or she challenges her again, maybe gets the better of her. And it feels like, well, that's not like that. Just like she wins it. Nikki's like, I'm not going to give you a title shot. I beat you. Why would I give you a title shot? And then Stephanie can kind of, run through a few people again, get that title shot, be the next challenger, maybe in the new year, whatever it is. And then shows that she could face adversity and overcome it, and then overcome Nikki Bella. Meanwhile, we have Nikki going off, doing the things we wanted to see her do, claiming that she's responsible for the Divas Revolution, claiming she's the best ever, claiming that she's a Hall of Famer, which she actually is.
Yes.
I just feel like now it's just going to be what? Nikki is going to eventually win down the line, and then Stephanie, what? Where does she go from there? So that was kind of my thought process. We've spent enough time talking about this, but as you know, I'm a Nikki defender. I'm a John Cena guy, so we're going to spend more time on those. Then don't get me wrong, I love Stephanie Vaquer. It might sound like I don't, but I really do. Speaking of more people that we love, we have the women's war game match. It happened to be the first match on the card, but we're going in order of the way it's organized here. Maybe in the new year we'll start changing some things up. So
we don't know the match order, so I just basically go like, okay, what matches am I just going to put on the form as I know them and as I have the graph? At the end of the day, my forms are in no particular order except for World Championships. Keyword: World Championship importance of match. Usually at the end. In this case, though, you gotta consider if the show's called War Games, I gotta put the War Games matches last.
Absolutely, especially if there's no top tier world championship on the line there. Sorry, ladies. So, I mean, again, she's only had 2 defenses. She's had it forever. It's just, we got to move on. So, women's war game match, we had Team Rhea Ripley, which was then against Team Asuka is put here, but I think there was some debate on who the captain was, whatever. And then we had the
It
bonus
seemed more cut and
points.
dry with this because Asuka was the one that was lobbying for people.
Yeah, for sure. She was putting it together. And again, she's one of the only champions in WWE right now that actually has a storyline. Just going to call it like I see it. So with Team Rhea Ripley, we had the option then to pick who was going to start for them. You and I both got those starters wrong, but we predicted the Team Rhea to win. It felt like when you're going into an event like this, you got to look at, okay, you got two matches of the same match, one women, one men's. Are they going to have both heels win? Are they going to have both faces win? Probably not. So we're going to have to stagger it. And if you're going in thinking that the heels are going to win the men's match, then you're probably picking the faces to win this. And looking up and down the sheet, it sure looks like that a lot of that was what happened. But I thought that Team Rhea, too strong, too much, and they're not the current, the Charlotte and Alexa lost the titles. So the Asuka and them could lose this. But when I saw that Lash Legend was coming out last, I was a little nervous about my pick. I think Lash Legend is going to be an absolute star. Maybe, and I'm calling it here first, maybe the first ever Black women's main event in WrestleMania history with her and Jade. I don't know. Not next year. But down the line, that could be something if they pull their cards right, because there's star power all over those two. So, but we picked Rhea. Why did you pick Rhea's team?
Straight up star power, and also the fact, like you just said, 50-50 booking as far as the story plots go. The biggest story plot going into this was the tag title changes and basically showcasing your impromptu tag division with Riho, Bliss, and Flair. Freaking Lash and Nia, who caused the title change in the first place, and of course the Kabuki Warriors, and then you got Becky and AJ. And with all due respect, Becky and AJ has been a single story underlined, very underwhelmed development in the women's division. And at the end of the day, looking at the dynamics here in AJ Lee, also first ever War Games, second match since returning. I did not see AJ Lee on the losing side. And I said it once, I'll say it again. Rhea Ripley is not a superstar. She's the superstar. Broken face be damned. If Rhea was not involved in this War Game would have been even flatter. You're not going to bet against Mommy in War Games, considering Io Sky's level of War Games experience and Rhea Ripley's leadership. Rhea Ripley won the first damn War Games in my NXT back in 2019. So those were my reasons going into it. And at the end of the day, AJ gets the better of Becky. Again, I didn't expect that to be the end of the decision, but hey, I'm happy it was.
And I'm going to throw it back to that word of the day, pattern. Rhea Ripley has worn a face mask how many years in a row now because she's had a broken nose? Now,
3 times a time.
Now I expect her, whether her nose is healthy or not, to have some sort of mask next year's War Games. Yeah, it's basically going to be, and then Io jumping off with the trash can. And I do believe that they're going to win the women's tag team championships here coming up soon. And then that'll be another AEW name that wins a championship in WWE because Rio, they have a girl named that in AEW. So I really think that they're I don't like calling them Team Rio because it just feels like almost borderline infringement. But I digress. We both got that wrong. We both got the team that starts incorrectly. Now for Team Asuka, you picked Asuka and I picked Nia Jax. So all in all, you thought it was going to be Io versus Asuka because they have that history with each other.
Yeah, they go all the way back before WWE. They haven't had that singles match yet against each other. I figure you tease that with starting them off for 5 minutes. And Io, again, most War Games experience in general.
And then and I picked Alexa and Nia for that same reason.
Yeah, they go all the way back to WrestleMania 34, and again, it was Nia that caused Little Miss Bliss, the tag team championship against the Kabuki Warriors. So our picks made a lot of sense here. I'm surprised that Jerry always thinks differently. And Charlotte Flair, I should have known, though, with the freaking thing before about the little girl with the brain tumor, God bless her, who's going through that, 7 years old, who made that gear for Charlotte Flair. I should have known also they were going to put Charlotte Flair in the spotlight because of that. Because, again, WWE is for those type of kids, keyword type of kids, for those moments. I can look all the way back at Khan the Crusher and Daniel Bryan at WrestleMania 30. So, damn it. I should have thought about that in my starter choice, too.
I would say, though, John Cena brought a bunch of Make-A-Wish kids out onto the stage and then got his butt kicked by Brock Lesnar in 5 minutes at WrestlePalooza. So, I mean, again, we look at the patterns. It's not nothing's 100% in this world, but we went with patterns and we did things that made sense to us there. Now we move on to what was the main event of the evening. We had Team Paul Heyman versus Team whatever captain, Team World Champion, however you want to look at it. And you and I both had Team Paul Heyman going over. We both picked the faces to win the women's, and so we picked the heels to win the men's. It might be more complicated than that, but that was where I worked backwards from that. I was like, the heels are definitely winning the men's, and I would be remiss to then say that Aaron riffed on the predictions. He mentioned that he thinks Brock Lesnar is going to walk out. He doesn't play well with others, blah, 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 blah. But if you've seen any of the marketing for this, it's not Cody Rhodes. It's not Braun Breaker. It's not Roman Reigns. It's not CM Punk. It's Paul Heyman.
Yep.
It's Braun Breaker. Yep. It's Bronson Reed.
Yep.
And so for me, it was going to be them, especially when you go on to the ESPN app or Netflix with the VPN or Netflix if you're outside the US, you're going to see the poster, the one sheet. Doesn't always predict what's going to happen, but for me, that felt like it was a foregone conclusion. I think that CM Punk, Roman Reigns, and Cody Rhodes have bigger beef with each other than Brock Lesnar was going to bring into there, doing a favor for his buddy Paul Heyman. So, and you also picked Team Paul Heyman. Why?
I basically looked at Dangerous Alliance 2.0, but I also looked at the vision doesn't win, and this is a vision that was literally recreated due to what happened to Seth freaking Rollins, as far as we know. Then why the point was it put together? Why was Logan Paul put with Paul Heyman? Why was Brock Lesnar brought back and he was going to lose in a momentary moment? Because let's also put this in mind. Brock Lesnar is not the endurance guy. He shows up, he breaks people, he leaves in quick fashion. He was not going to be there for that 45 dang minutes. Can you imagine that? I'm just saying. And at the end of the day, do we need to run back Brock Lesnar, Roman Reigns? 7. I've lost count. No, we don't. But I also look at what does this lead to? It leads to WrestleMania 42. There's a reason why they got the trailer with everyone at the poker table. You just name the names. Brock Lesnar, Paul Heyman, Paul Levesque, CM Punk, Cody Rhodes, Roman Reigns. Folks, get ready for your WrestleMania main events. Again, I look at Roman Reigns and still promo. That tie would look good on me. It sounds like to me, okay, they're going to do Cody and Roman 3. I also look at the fact, you know why I call them Team Whatever Captain? These guys didn't know who the hell was even going to lead. How can you freaking win if you can't even function together as a team with somebody as the quarterback, as the coach, as the freaking playmaker, as the front runner, and freaking Setra? When I looked at this, though, as far as my starters, I thought Cody was going to lead by example. I'm the captain saying this is the match I was born in because I was born into this business from the late great Dusty Rhodes, who, of course, imagined this freaking nightmare. And the last time that Cody tried to challenge the future, said Solo wasn't ready. Okay, Braun Breaker, the most over, first-tier, top ballot, next star in WWE, singles-wise, top-wise. Why not put him up against one of the freaking world champions, including a champion you didn't expect? It was CM Punk that got speared by Braun Breaker the day after WrestleMania. I look at the fact that Braun Breaker can run 25 miles an hour. He's going to be Mr. Endurance. It made sense for Paul Heyman to put him in there first versus anybody else. And I thought Cody was probably a unique dynamic. I should have known, though, with Raw being its own storyline and SmackDown having no direction, it should have been Punk and Braun Breaker because that's what started the vision in the first place. Damn it. But yeah, Paul Heyman's team, it made all the sense in the world to win because the vision has a united vision. The other team, they don't know what the freaking left versus right is.
I agree. Now, if I had known they weren't going to do the shark cages, which I don't really like anyway, and they were going to try and turn this into a Royal Rumble 0.5 or however you want to look at it, I would have probably changed.
Freaking bench warmers underneath the stage. Damn it.
Mm-hmm. And you know, they were all going to have their own entrances. You know, I probably would have picked maybe different starters, but for me, going into who I thought was going to start, I thought it was going to be the lowest tier of each team. Sorry, Alexa, I love you. You're the goddess. I don't mean to call you low tier on the team by any means, but Jimmy Uso and Bronson Reed, they're just like, you build up to Brock Lesnar and Roman. To me, that was always going to be who finished, regardless. Yeah. I probably should have thought about the endurance factor a little bit more. Braun Breaker's got that endurance, and he's the, you know, the future. Essentially, he's like the head in the future. it just felt like that was going to happen. And
I did not think it was going to get the win though, let alone pinning CM Punk. That caught me by surprise.
yeah, remember he said on Raw, and I mentioned it on the review yesterday, but he was like, yeah, that guy tried to steal my thunder, the masked man, and it was easy to beat Punk. Those two things are you can't say in the same sentence, buddy.
No!
I'm sorry.
No,
It was easy to beat him because the dude you're claiming stole your thunder freaking helped you.
curb stomped him.
Yeah.
It helped you.
So whatever. Again, Braun Breaker's losing a lot of steam for me at this point. But at the same time, I'm also a guy who believes you're supposed to hate the heels. I'm starting to really hate him. So nothing against the guy.
At least it's working. Damn.
But a lot of people don't believe that that's how heels should be in today's day and age. We should enjoy what they're doing.
Oh,
okay,
give me a break.
Again, that's one of the reasons I defend John Cena as a heel. But I digress. I always bring it back to Cena. That's another pattern that you can expect with me. So yeah, it came out to where I only had 3 points. You got 5. That Asuka and Breaker choice kind of put you over.
Kind of like
the
offset
edge
everything, to be honest here, and I'm just hitting myself in the back because damn it. But that's positions and predictions.
Yeah, hindsight is 2020. I mean, we look at this stuff, something happens, you're like, I should have seen it coming from a mile away. The writing was on the wall. But again, we're letting our sometimes better judgment, sometimes worse judgment with the patterns that we're seeing. Yeah, absolutely.
Trends. Yeah, there's so many different ways in perspective to have fun with this. And at the end of the day, just enjoy life, enjoy wrestling, enjoy the predicting. So, but yeah, overall though, this War Games, it didn't feel like it pushed anything forward for me. And I'm kind of sad about that considering it was the last official PL of the year. Now we just got Sarah's main event with the only thing of merit is John Cena's final match. Nothing's going to be more important than that, damn it. And then you got the freaking Raw and Netflix spread that they're going to try and make a big deal until we go to Saudi Rumble, which is when this league will truly restart again.
Mm-hmm. And traditionally, the Royal Rumble is where the WrestleMania storylines take place. The guys and gals who have those moments facing off in the middle of the ring when they come in, that's kind of where it goes. So I wasn't really expecting a whole lot of where do we go from here coming out of this event.
That's fair.
With John Cena, Nick, I mean, I hopefully we get something more with Nikki and Stephanie because I can't see them doing something like that. But we've talked about that long enough. We are laying to rest Survivor Series War Games. It's almost like we shouldn't call it Survivor Series anymore, but that's a whole nother rant for another time.
Another rant for a different day.
Yeah.
But anyway,
it was a fun event. I watch them with my boys. I also watch your guys' live commentary of it. It's a lot of fun to do.
Yeah, the Big G. He really is coming into his own in this type of fun too, and I hope he continues to enjoy and continues to take part of it. And I look forward to calling John Cena's final match with him as well.
Yeah, dude. That's gonna be it's gonna be an emotional night. Maybe as the new year comes, because I go watch it with my buddies. We get together and watch it at one house. So it'd be tough for say me to join you guys on a commentary, but I do look forward to maybe doing that and on in a future episode if I'm not with them. Not gonna lie, last year's War Games was better. I mean, for sure. I honestly, Liv Morgan getting hurt earlier in the year really changed what I think the direction of War Games was this year. I think the direction of Evolution, all of those things. And that's tough. That really an injury. Seth Rollins getting injured changed the landscape.
The entire perspective of Raw. Been the Punk Seth show the entire year. Now we got Punk and Braun.
Mm-hmm. Which they did their best to try and make it seem like Braun Breaker's the reason that Seth Rollins is no longer there, but we all know it's because he got hurt. So it's like it's a little different. But at the end of the day, these events as we go into them, as we're predicting them, it feels like they're maybe a little short or maybe a little long, depending on your perspective. But at the end of the day, they usually deliver. Both companies usually deliver on these events for the most part. And you go back and watch even the best of WrestleManias from years past. WrestleMania 17 comes to mind. Not every match is a banger. Sometimes you need the ability, especially for live crowds, you need the ability to have them, rest their voice for another moment and things like that. Cleaver, thank you so much for stopping by, man. Colin, who's one of the alternating moderators of the No DQ review.
Colin will be the moderator next week, folks. So stay tuned for more on that. Well, Gino, you and I have become statistic morticians for this entire league year. So, what do you say we not only put the predictions to rest, we put the official league scores to rest as well?
Let's do it.
Oh, who missed their spot to cause a run-in distraction for the finish? Why is there a cat on Gino's shoulders and chair? That's awesome. Anyway, well, Gino, again, I love doing these, and hello to the cat. Folks, thank you all again for another incredible year. It's time to find out who is the weakest link and who is the winner. First and foremost, thank you to everybody who was involved. 699 form submissions, the highest since I started doing these. 83 was the highest count for the Royal Rumble, 65 for SummerSlam, 71 for WrestleMania, and 70 for the Elimination Chamber. There was a total of 136 participants in the league this year between the team and Galaxy. 20 team members overall since our team grew, welcoming in Dave and Uthman, of course. And shout out to the top 13 of the NoDQ Galaxy, who did all 12 shows. That being said, let's go ahead and reveal the results in this year's winner of the WWE PLE Predictions League of 2025 for both the team and the Galaxy. First off, I will start with the Galaxy, and this year's winner with a resounding 76 points was, for the first time ever, Richard Morales. Congratulations to Richard Morales. Second place goes to my fellow Horseman prediction, Mark Griffith, and third went to Adrian Hennigan, who of course ended off with 72 points. Colin, of course, knows this very well because he was, of course, the previous winner, part of the NoDQ Galaxy. Ashley, Jotzi, King Kiara, the analyst, Michael Wayne, the inaugural winner, they did very great as well. Those gold numbers represent perfect scores of the night. Why, of course, the gold and black represent the highest overall scores. Excuse me, the gold and black represents the perfect scores of the night, while the black and gold represent the highest score. So congratulations, of course, to let me get my words right here. Sorry, a little tired. Congrats to Richard Morales, who joins my list of champions for the NoDQ Galaxy League and this year's winner of 2025 for the Galaxy. Hope to see him again in the league next year. Hope to see everybody in there again next year. And now for, of course, the reason that Gino and I are here, and probably Colin and Dwayne, and what Big G was anticipating. There was a 1 point difference between first and second place. In third place, with 2 shows being their highest score overall, it was actually, I believe, either Dwayne Atkinson or I think you. In second place with 2 shows, the highest score overall, and 2 perfects, it was me.
Yep.
In first place with a highest score for 4 shows overall, demonstrating fearless behavior. Now a 4-time winner, first time undisputed win since Sun Goku Day in 2022. It's our own fearless Caitlin Bella. Caitlin takes the league this year for the WWE, matching Richard Morales with 76 points, followed by me, followed by Kayfabe Candy Ads at 73. Gino, you ended with 72. Dwayne, very good with 71. Big G with 68. So again, congratulations to this year's league winners, as Caitlin now takes her place alongside my Hall of Fame of Champions here for 2025. And thank you again to everybody that has been part of the WWE PLE Predictions League. Good game all around. And I will be hosting it again, starting with Saudi Rumble. As always, it's a pleasure, Gino, and a great effort by you this year.
Thank you. Yeah, it's my first year in the Predictions League, and then halfway through, we decided to do these videos. So really looking forward to it. I was 1 point off. If I didn't bet, a few of the things I should have bet with my head instead of my heart, and I'd maybe have been up there. Colin was absolutely mine. It was Colin and I were 1A, 1B with Caitlin right there as well for most of the year. And then I think SummerSlam happened, and that's when it really started to change. Yeah, for us. Yeah, again, right Caitlin got 11 at SummerSlam, and I got 8, and Colin had 8 as well. So it was really right around that time when it started to change. But this was so fun. We really hope you guys are enjoying this. Noah and I look forward to bringing you guys more content about these predictions, more videos, all these types of things. So we really have fun doing this for you guys. We hope you guys enjoyed as well. Again, congratulations to Caitlin Bella and Richard Morales. You guys worked your tails off all year. That's 52 weeks, everybody, and they really did it good. Whether you go with the betting odds favorites, or you're betting with your heart, or you have some dirt sheets, or whatever the case is, you know somebody in the company. Great job, guys, all around. Very, very fun. Very fun.
I love doing this shit. Whew, that's one league down, 3 to go. Of course, this week we'll conclude NXT and TNA. We'll be back for next Wednesday to, of course, break the stats for those and showcase the winner for those as well. So good luck to everybody at Deadline and Final Resolution. And, of course, Gino, again, until next time, man, hope you keep on study predicting and keep on bringing your statistical analysis. It's been a pleasure. I look forward to these evolving for the year 2026. And thank you, Colin. I love doing this stuff. It's an absolute pleasure.
Yeah, Noah, thank you so much. It's a lot of work, whether you enjoy it or not. We really appreciate that. And like you said, we'll maybe do some format changes and some things to make the content better and better every day. As you and I get better and better interacting with each other and bouncing off each other, I really enjoy this. And maybe we'll do as we said earlier, have some separate videos. We're just talking about specific points, or this versus that. Maybe that's what we could call it, this versus that. And we could have a point and defend it and see whether the people agree or not. But dude, Noah, you're always a class act. You're always one of my favorite people in this space, guys. Go check him out at Noah or N Foster 1916 on YouTube, and the X's, the Twix, the Twitter, whatever you want to call it. And the Simply Reliable Studios. Noah is just one of the best guys here in the business, guys.
You're nice. And Gino, let's go ahead and tell where the people can find you. And again, definitely looking forward to doing a separate podcast or other products with you down the future. Who knows? This might evolve into some other forms from soon. Stay tuned.
Yeah, and you guys can find me on the YouTube, Papagino0017. My predictions videos are almost done here. I got my podcast usually Wednesdays tonights at 8 p.m. We'll see if that happens. And I'm streaming Rocket League, posting shorts, doing all that fun stuff. Thank you so much for Noah, for all you guys watching along, whether you're no DQ or some other, whether you're TNA wrestling, non-wrestling fans. We appreciate all of the love and support. And as always, we'll catch you on the next one.
Have a good night, folks, and congratulations again to Caitlin Bella and Richard Morales, this year's winner of the WWE PLE Predictions League. Have a good night, folks. Make a positive impact in life, as always. And know that you don't have to overthink when it comes to simply predicting professional wrestling. Damn it.